do people do if they're around people that, are Debbie Downers and who are always, the glass is half full and it's always woe is me or look out for the negative, and they haven't been trained in looking for happiness, and that's not something they're interested in. But this could be their family, it could be their friends, someone, it could be their partner even. I know people that have
Yeah.
partners that are very negative and it can be very hard for them. How do how does someone deal with that?
Yeah. So that's a problem of what we call emotional contagion. When you're around people who are very, very unhappy, it's very easy for that to lower your level of life satisfaction a lot. And there's a reason that we tend to have contagious emotions. Humans are made to live in groups. We're not made to live alone. We're not made to be hermits. We're not made to be recluses. We're both a pair bonded and tribal species, designed to live in tropical locations. That doesn't mean we can't live in places like England and Seattle, but it's a lot healthier to live in places like Australia for our sort of natural habitat. We're also supposed to live in groups, and we're supposed to pair bond with each other. I mean, this is how we're basically designed, which is why people are happiest under these circumstances, what we find. Now, the problem with that is that when we're a tribal and we're made for kin groups, is that when somebody's really struggling, that we're supposed to, or have any emotion, we're supposed to feel the emotion of people in our kin group. That's why we've developed called mirror neurons. These are neurons that exist, and these are nerve cells in our brains that are dedicated to ascertaining the emotions of other people and feeling them within ourselves. This is what one of the things that bonds us to each other. And that's great. When your partner is happy, you get happier. The problem is when your partner is unhappy, you get unhappier, and it can really degrade the quality of your life. Yeah, and you're not going to change your mirror neurons, but there's certain things you can do with your behavior to make things better for yourself and your partner or your friend or whoever it happens to be. To begin with, the most important thing that you can do when you're living with somebody or you're around somebody who's chronically negative is work on your own happiness. Why? Because when you do that, that will counteract the mirror neuron activity, and you can start a reverse emotional contagion to the other person. So you have to do the work. In other words, don't just give and give and give and give. On the contrary, before you see an unhappy person for the first day, do what you need to do for your own happiness. Do your prayer, do your journaling, do your meditation, do the things that you actually need to do, all the protocols that we all talk about in the science of happiness. Make sure you do your exercise. Make sure you do the things that you need to do to take care of your own happiness. That will make it possible for you to fend off a lot of the negative contagion and to start to reverse it into a positive contagion. The second thing that I recommend for a lot of young people is that choose your friends wisely. I mean, you're not going
Mm.
to like divorce your partner because she's divorced, because she's unhappy. That's ridiculous. But you certainly can pick new friends. If all of your friends are, woe is me, the world's so bad, everything's terrible, you've got the wrong friends. That's just
Mm.
the way it is. There's a reason that, I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent. I wanted my kids when they were adolescents to have happy friends. That's what I wanted, because I wanted my kids to be happier. That's what I wanted. And so when they were around people that were really, really negative, I was always discouraging them from, developing those particular relationships. And it really, really helped a lot. So
Mm.
curate your company. Your company is the people, because of your brain and your mirror neurons, the people that you're going to be.
That's so interesting. I wonder with kids, I've got two kids myself, and sometimes they'll come home from school and they'll just point out all the negative things that have happened in the day. And I think to myself, like, I'm sure something that was good happened. Or if something good happened, you won't hear from them that day. They won't say how school was unless you ask them. But a lot of the time, and adults do this too, we just focus on them, like, how was your day? Oh, well, this bad thing happened, that bad thing happened. We forget the majority of good things that happened in the day. Why do we do that? And then if you're a parent to a child that does that, how can we start to get them to focus on the positives rather than the negatives?
Couple things that are going on there that are worth pointing out. So I remember that when my kids were little, I would pick them up from preschool, and they wouldn't see me, and they would be playing with their friends and having a great time, smiling, laughing, running around. And as soon as they saw me, they would come running over and burst into tears. I'd be like, "What? What did I do? Why do I deserve this?" And it turns out because they store up their negative emotion and then they share it with the one person they trust. That's a very human thing to do. And that's one of the reasons that spouses will be fine at work all day and then come home and complain to their spouse. Because you only share the negative emotion with the people you trust.
Mm.
It's a very important. Why? Because you share it at work, you don't trust those people, it can have negative repercussions. But you really trust your partner, you really trust your parents, you really trust your closest friends. And so there's a vibe of negativity because it's all stored up. Like you open up your briefcase of negatives and you take one thing out one after the other. And that can feel really bad for the partner or the parent, right? But when you have little kids and they're doing that, actually be thankful because you're the person that they trust the most. That's an expression of their trust and their love for you, and they know they're safe to get rid of all of their horribles, to launder their horribles with you is the one thing. The second thing, however, is that there is a tendency to focus when it's how did your day go, to focus on the negative parts of the day because of what we call the negativity bias. Now, negativity bias is an ancient evolutionary phenomenon where you're supposed to focus more on negative than positive because that will keep you alive. If
Mm.
somebody's smiling sweetly at you from across the room at a party, that's nice. But if somebody's frowning angrily at you, you better take note because that could be a big problem for you once you get outside on the street. And that's a big deal. That's one of the reasons that if you go out to dinner with your friends and it's a super fun time, you're having a great time, but then there's a bad argument right at the end of the night, that's all you remember about the night forever. Because that negativity caught your attention because your evolved brains that always pay attention to the negative thing. Your
Mm.
kids don't know that. And so one of the things that we have to do in all of our lives is to routinely focus on more positive parts of our experiences so that we can manually increase their salience. So the natural salience is negative. The manual salience that we'll bring up can be positive, and we can do that with our kids around the dinner table by saying, let's talk about the most fun, best thing that happened today. What's the best thing that happened today? And what that'll do is they'll get them into the practice basically of gratitude. The gratitude practice is focusing on the positive as opposed to letting the negativity bias remain in the most salient position. So number one, don't worry when they complain to you. That means they love and trust you. But number two, help them get into the habit of not focusing on that for the rest of the day by counteracting the negativity bias.